Alrighty, well, good afternoon, everyone. It is time to get going on our session. Congratulations, you made it to the last half day of the conference this year. Hopefully you're having a great event. I know I've enjoyed it. Beautiful city and always love being here. My name is Wally Mead. I'm a product owner and principal program manager for Cyrusson. I was at Microsoft for 22 years in the configuration manager product group and learned all the different flavors of configuration manager, starting with well, before SMS 1.0, and now, well, I left it in the R2 time frame, but been playing around with the current product, System Center Configuration Manager, for a while now. So our session today is on upgrading to Configuration Manager. If you were in my session yesterday, in the What's New session, I talked about the reasons why you might want to move to this new version of Configuration Manager. Some of the Windows 10 management and deployment scenarios, on-premise MDM, the new updates and servicing features, preferred management points, and so on, a bunch of other things in there. So today I'm going to show you how to get to this new release of Configuration Manager from where your current platform is. So my agenda, I'll talk real briefly on migration. How can you migrate to the current technology, and then spend the vast majority of our time together today on the upgrade process. So first things first, if you're in the session yesterday, you saw this, but in case there's anybody new in here, just want to make sure that you're all up to date. Even though I noticed on the screens outside it said upgrading to System Center Configuration Manager 2016, that's absolutely incorrect. There is not a product Configuration Manager 2016. The product name is just System Center Configuration Manager. No year or anything else on it. So a lot of people are referring to it as current branch because it is a self-servicing model, very much like Windows 10 in a current branch scenario. You're also seeing people refer to it as 1511 because 1511 is the current version number of the current release of the current branch version of Configuration Manager. So just be very specific when you're out on the forums and in community places trying to get support or offer support on the product, that you know whether you're talking about ConfigMan 2007, ConfigMan 2012, and then what flavor there, as well as on the current version of the product. And this will change. In fact, in the next month or so, it's going to change from 1511 to something else, 1602, 1603, whatever it happens to come up with. All right, so let's jump in. Upgrading to Configuration Manager. What can you get from up to this new release of the product? So you can perform an in-place upgrade, not a side-by-side migration as was required from ConfigMan 2007 to ConfigMan 2012, but you can do an in-place upgrade from all releases of Configuration Manager 2012 other than the initial release. So other than the 2012 RTM build or RTM release, you can perform an in-place upgrade from 2012 SP1, SP2, 2012 R2, R2 SP1. So that's great, makes your life very, very simple and easy. No new standing up brand new hardware and installing a brand new site and picking and choosing the objects you want through that migration process like you had to do in the past. Now, if anybody is still left on 2007, anybody still on 2007 out there? Okay, I see a couple hands out there. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be. I can only think of a couple of good reasons to still be on 2007, and actually they're not really good ones, but anyway. So for those that are still on ConfigMan 2007, there is no in-place upgrade. Just like there was no in-place upgrade from 2007 to 2012, you cannot upgrade from 2007 to ConfigMan, the current release. So you would have to do a migration process, as I'll talk about, or the old flatten and restart all over from the beginning. Okay, so now, for those that want to do a migration, and that would be the vast majority, well, everybody primarily that's on ConfigMan 2007, although I do know some people that like the old flatten and restart from beginning scenario. But let's talk about migration. So no in-place upgrade support from ConfigMan 2007, only the 2012 SP2 or SP1 and higher platforms. So for ConfigMan 2007, very likely you'll do a migration. You don't have to migrate from 2007 to 2012 and then 2012 in-place upgrade. You can migrate directly from 2007 to Config Manager, the current branch, 1511, whatever you want to call it. So they were happy about that fact. Good. You will also be able to do a migration from ConfigMan 2012 SP2 or ConfigMan 2012 R2 SP1. So if you do want to perform a side-by-side migration, instead of an in-place upgrade, you'll have to be on the latest release of ConfigMan 2012. The product group is only testing and supporting the last service pack, which was a combined service pack for 2012 SP2 and R2 SP1. So you can do a migration from those platforms over to the current technology if you wish to. The vast majority of people are going to do it in place upgrade because it's a whole lot easier. About the only couple of reasons I can think of for doing a migration from 2012 to current branch would be if you really want to do hardware swap at the same time, it may be easier for you. If you just want to start clean because you got a bunch of garbage there and you don't want to have to filter all that through the migration process, or if you need to change operating systems, I'll talk about shortly. You can also do a migration process from Config Manager to Config Manager the same release. For example, you're going to install ConfigMan or upgrade to it in your production environment. You'll want to have a lab environment that's got the same version on it, 15.11, let's say. You could do a migration from 15.11 in your lab to your production 15.11. So that's a great scenario for you to build out your processes, build out those objects, create those deployments, verify that everything's working correctly, and then instead of recreating that in production, just migrate it from your lab environment over. Now, it does require that your site codes are different. So your lab might be LAB for site code, and your prod might be PRD. That will work. But you can't have both PRD and PRD. You can't do migration to the same site code. Okay, I'm going to hold off on the demo because of the fact that I could demo right now a migration, but it would be from 2007 to 2012 R2 SP1. The exact same process. But if anybody wants to see, for example, guys that have 2007, come and hit me afterwards and I can show you that demo. I don't have ConfigMan 15.11 running right now because we're going to upgrade. So let's go talk about our upgrade process. But for those of you that did a migration previously, it's the exact same process that you would have done prior. Okay, in-place upgrade. The first thing to be aware of is that as of the current branch release, 15.11, there's been some operating system and SQL Server changes. The product group is no longer supporting any site system-based operating system less than Windows Server 2008 R2. So some of you still have some Windows Server 2008s out there. I know some people still have Windows Server 2003 for distribution points. Those are no longer supported. So your minimum operating system platform is going to be Windows Server 2008 R2. And there's a caveat there that the support for that operating system will go away this calendar year. So by the end of 2016, there'll be no more support for ConfigMan vNext, which is the code name for it, the current branch 15.11 product and subsequent releases on Windows Server 2008 R2. The product group has a great document up on TechNet called the Deprecated Features document, and in there they list all the operating systems and features and SQL Server versions and so on that are no longer supported for ConfigMan 2012 or ConfigMan. They're still stating vNext in that document last time I looked. So just be aware of that. And SQL Server, it's got the 3 supported versions of SQL Server on there. If you want 2008 R2, it's SP3, 2012, it's SP2, and 2014, it's SP1. So those are the supported versions of SQL Server. Now going forward, once new SQL Server comes out, once Windows Server 2016 comes out, the product group will go ahead and provide support for those once those have released RTM code, and they've done their final validation testing on that. So just be aware of that. And the note at the bottom, secondary sites, hopefully not many people are using those anymore, but secondary sites can use the Express version or Express edition of SQL Server. Okay, so your upgrade process. First thing, you have to verify that your operating systems are good to go. The prereq checker does not look at your operating systems to verify you have a supported version of the operating system in an upgrade scenario. So you have to do that on your own. So verify your Windows Server 2008 R2 is a minimum. More appropriately, you want to be Windows Server 2012 R2. And this would be one of the reasons why you might want to do a side-by-side migration from 2012, because you might be running ConfigMan 2012 on top of Windows Server 2008, and you want to get new hardware and swap the operating system. Now, the product group will be coming out with a support statement very shortly on in-place operating system upgrade support, which today they have very limited support statement for, but they're working on a new support statement that will support And hopefully the announcement will be in place upgrade support from Windows Server 2008 R2 up to 2012 R2. So look for that fairly soon. So anyway, verify your software versions are all supported versions, looking at the supported configs doc. Then you want to go ahead and verify the health of your current environment. Don't go trying to upgrade an environment that's not running properly. You'll just dig a bigger hole than you're already in. So how you do that? First thing you want to do is verify that your site systems are healthy. So go to system status, go to site systems, and verify that all your site systems have an OK status on them. The green circle, white check mark, and everything's good to go. Verify that your component status is, I think I state OK there, but it may not necessarily be OK. You may have components in your environment that have warning status or state on them, and that might be OK for your environment. So just make sure that the components have the proper or valid status for your environment. An example would be, you may have gone into asset intelligence, and you may have enabled classes and turned on that radio button that says enable all asset intelligence classes. You're told not to do that, or there's documentation that says you probably don't want to do that, but some people do that. There's cases where that will create inventory files that are too big, and the site server can't process those inventory files. So the SMS inventory data loader component may generate warning messages stating that I couldn't process this inventory file. So that may be normal for you to have warning messages for that one component. But verify what all the statuses are and everything is acting normally for you. Then the next thing on there is no inbox backlogs. So what I would do is verify, go through all the inboxes on the site server, verifying you have no backlog of files. So no large accumulation of any file sitting in any of those inboxes. And I'll show you one way of doing that. Generally, a backlog in an inbox is an indication of some issue, a corrupt file, or your site is not tuned properly and you're doing discovery way too frequently and your site server can't keep up with it. So looking for backlogs can help identify potential performance issues that may get worse as you upgrade your software. Then just verify your clients are communicating properly. So you all know the client health feature and the client status feature in ConfigMan 2012. It'll show you your percentage of active clients, your percentage of healthy clients. Make sure those numbers are normal for your environment. Of course you want 100% active and you want 100% healthy, but that's probably unrealistic for the vast majority of environments. You have people on vacation, holidays, I know you guys in Europe take tons of those, and those systems may turn inactive because of that. So just verify that things are within your normal operating ranges for your activity and client health. Verify if you have any active deployments right now, those active deployments have that their compliance percentage is increasing on a daily basis. So that you are getting more and more clients that are implementing those patches or installing that new version of software. Just make sure that your site is working as you expect it to be working. Don't do an upgrade when you got problems in your environment, otherwise you may, again, make things worse. Last bullet on there, back up your current environment. So make sure if you have a hierarchy, start at the top, work your way down. Making sure you have a backup of everything. Very, very important. Okay, next is the preparation process in your site. If any of you have MP replicas, you need to disable those MP replicas. So tell your MPs no longer to use a replica of the site database, instead use the site's database directly in SQL Server. I know there's a few MVPs, in fact Kent that was in here earlier this morning, he's a very big proponent of MP replicas. So if you've worked with him, you may have MP replicas. There's a number of people that like them. Most people don't have them, but it's something that is documented you need to get rid of. Also, if you have your software update points in an NLB cluster, you need to disable that NLB cluster. You have to uninstall the out-of-band service point as well as the system health validator site system roles if you have those. So the out-of-band service point is for AMT vPro integration, and then the system health validator was the integration with the NAP feature of the Windows operating system. Both those site system roles and features are deprecated, no longer supported in Configuration Manager current branch. So you need to uninstall those in order to do your upgrade process. The next bullet says to disable your maintenance tasks. I'm not necessarily going to state that you have to disable all your maintenance tasks, but what you need to be aware of is when your maintenance tasks are scheduled to run. By default, the built-in maintenance tasks are scheduled to run between midnight and 5 a.m. So if all your tasks are still going to be running between midnight and 5 a.m., you may not have to disable them because you're probably not going to be there doing your upgrade between midnight and 5 a.m. I'm not going to be, so don't go trying to hire me to do that. So if you're going to do your upgrade like on a weekend from noon to 3, great, then you don't need to disable your maintenance tasks. Just make sure you know when your maintenance tasks are scheduled to run, and if any are going to conflict with your schedule for doing your upgrade, then go ahead and disable those tasks. You just don't want to have the maintenance tasks going in there pruning and grooming your database while you're trying to upgrade that database. So you don't want to cause conflicts there. Then the next thing I do is run prereq check. So run it manually. I know it's going to run as part of setup, but it can help you identify some gotchas before the actual upgrade process starts and before you get through the wizard. So I'm always going to recommend running it manually, and I'll show you a lot of the stuff coming up here in just a second. Then go ahead and run a testDB upgrade. TestDB upgrade is something that the vast majority of people don't do in their upgrade processes. However, it's absolutely essential that you do perform that task. How you do a testDB upgrade is you make a SQL backup of your config man site database. You take that backup of your config man site database over to another SQL server that's not hosting a config man site database. So it's a non-site database server. You restore that backup onto that non-site database server. You take your config man version, whatever you're upgrading to, in this case we'll say 15.11, take that code over there, run setup with the switch on it for testDB upgrade, which again I'll show you in just a second, and then that will actually perform an upgrade of that database to that new version of software. But it's a backup version, not your production version. And the reason this is very valuable for you is that I had one of my TAP customers when I was in the product group way back long ago. They didn't have the testDB upgrade switch. And we tried to do an upgrade to Service Pack 1, one of the versions of Config Manager. And the database was not able to be upgraded. So the upgrade process failed. We looked at the log file and it told us that there was invalid data in the database. And it came from a no ID MIF file that they were importing. Well, they had to do a restore of their database because it tried to upgrade. Part of it got upgraded, got to that invalid data, stopped. So their database was no longer any good. So they got to experience the joy of a recovery process. So we recovered the database, ran a utility, removed that custom data, upgrade worked great. SP2 rolls around, the exact same thing happened because they re-imported that no ID MIF. SP3 came around and the product group had added that testDB upgrade. So now they go through this process of validating their database in a lab / non-config man environment to know whether they have re-added that custom data in there and whether they have to remove it or not. So it saves them having to go through that recovery process. So very, very important. And then you start your upgrade from the top down and work your way there. So now it is time to show you some of this stuff. So let's go ahead and switch over here. Let me go into full screen mode so it's easier to see. Just going to point out to you that I am sitting on an R2 SP1 environment. That's probably where the vast majority of you are, is R2 SP1. And if you look at my clients, you can see that I have a few clients that are R2 RTM code, and then a couple that are the SP1 code. All right, so just wanted to show you that. So a couple things you would do there, again, is go to monitoring, go to system status, go to site status, and bingo, all my site status is good. So that looks good. Next thing I would do is go to component status, and I would just scroll through all my components, looking for any issues. Oops, there's one way down at the bottom. A warning status on SMSW Sync Manager. So if I ever saw any of those, what I would do is I would right-click on the column heading, and I would add in the error column count, the informational count, as well as the warning count. I would add in all those different columns, and then I would go to that one that's causing problems. In this case is WSUS Sync Manager. And what you would do is you'd display those messages. And I already know why this has got a warning, because I'm not connected to the internet. So my software update point can't connect to WSUS to connect to the internet to get pulled on a brand new catalog. So for me, that's normal because I'm disconnected right now. But you go view all those messages. Now, the reason why I have you add in all these, that's not the mouse, add in all these different numbers is so you can see your errors, your information, and your warnings. You can see this component up here, AD System Discovery, has a whole bunch of informational messages. You can actually generate warning messages if you have too many informational messages. So adding that informational column on there, not just the errors and warnings, can help you out because maybe the warning just because you got more than 2,000 informational messages. And you can tune those just by double-clicking on that component, and you'll see what your values are. You have to tune them in status, but you can see you get a warning when you have 2,000 informational messages. Okay, so I'm all good there. Things look good. My client activity is good. In my case, it's only a couple of my clients are running, so my activity is only 40% instead of 100%, but it's within expectations because I don't have all the images running. So that's all good. Next thing I would do is I would go to command prompt. I'm going to look for inbox backlogs. So I'm going to go to Program Files, Microsoft Config Manager, Inboxes, and I'm going to do a dir/s, pipe it to text file, inboxes.txt. Let that run for a second. Then I'm going to go to that location and go to inboxes.txt. I'm just going to open up that notepad file. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll through this doc looking for any backlogs of files. So I'm just looking at all the different directories for any big accumulation of files. The places where you're probably going to find your vast majority of them, if you have any, now let me zoom in here for you, are going to be in this path here, inboxes auth. Because this is the location where the vast majority of your client files come to. Hardware inventory, software inventory, which you shouldn't be using anymore, state messages, discovery records. So the vast majority of those client type files are going to go to the inboxes auth directory in appropriate subdirectories of there. You may very well find a whole bunch sitting here in the data loader box, bad myths, corrupt inventory files or files that are too big or delta mismatches or something like that. So you'll probably find a lot there. The site server is supposed to clean them out every 2 weeks. So expect that you might have some sitting there. And here you see I got a had a file folder there for delta mismatch. So I had at least one in my environment when I had this running. Missing system class and so on. So it creates a subfolder for each of the different error type messages you have. Then another location that's very common to get those backlogs is right here, Stat Manager. So Stat Manager is for status messages from site system components as well as status messages from clients. So I would just go through looking at a few of these, and you'll see them in, again, that directory tree for backlogs. I've seen a number of cases where the queue folder, which is where my site status message is waiting to be processed, you get a ton of files in there. And if I go sort by date and timestamp, they're really, really old files. Very likely what's happened is that oldest file got corrupt somehow, so just manually delete that oldest file, and probably the rest of them will start flowing through very, very quickly. Because it backlogs because that corrupted file can't process anymore. CCR retry is another place you want to look because of the fact that that's for retrying client push attempts. Anyway, just go ahead and look through your environment for backlogs and inboxes. I know there's some community tools that will highlight stuff for you, but that's just a quick and easy, dirty way of doing it. Okay, now you want to run prereq checker. So let me get rid of that command prompt, go to my other command prompt. So I've already downloaded the configuration manager 1511 code, so I've got it down here. So I'm sitting in that directory, and I'll zoom in for you. I copied it down to my site server. It's under vnex rtm sms setup bin x64, and just run prereq check with no switches. It launches off your prereq checker, and it will show you any warnings, any errors. And you can see I've already got one error. And I'm going to have 3 errors and 2 warnings. Those 3 errors are because I don't have the proper ADK installed. You have to have the Windows 10 ADK now. So you need to have the Windows 10 ADK to be able to support config-man vnext. So you can see you got the 3 errors there, and the 2 warnings are just SQL memory configuration. Warnings don't stop you. So let me go ahead and get the ADK installed. And I did this to show you a couple things. So just go to ADK, I've downloaded it, install. It's a very quick install. I think Ket mentioned this if you were in a session earlier today. I just wanted to show you the components that you would need. Normally, we tell you to take the 3 components in here: deployment tools, WinPE, and USMT. Kent also mentioned the ICD. So if you want to use ICD for some packaging stuff like the bulk enrollment, you would use ICD. So if you want to do bulk enrollment of Windows 10 devices in an on-prem environment, you're going to need the ICD to go ahead and do that. So you may want to go ahead and get that ready to be installed. It's fairly small. You can always install it after the fact. But I'll go ahead and get this install going, and then we'll go back to our prereq checker, which is sitting here, and you see the only errors I have are for the 3 required components: USMT, WinPE, and the deployment tools. So it doesn't have an error for ICD because it's not a requirement that you have it unless you want to use that feature that requires that component. Okay, so I'm taking care of my issue right now, so click that. The next thing you would do is your prereq check, or after prereq check, is your test DB upgrade. So I'm just going to use the same location, and I'll zoom in here in just a second for you. So I'll set up /test DB upgrade, and then your database name, CM_CIR, or MCM. And what you're going to do is you're going to, again, go to that SQL Server computer that you restored your database on and run this command. So the big thing you want there is the /testdb upgrade. So this is 1511 setup using the /testdb upgrade switch, and you're pointing to that database that you restored on this non-config manager site database server. And then what this is going to do is going to kick off the upgrade of your database, that database on that server with this new version of Configuration Manager. Now in my case, if I try and run this, I'm going to get an error message, and I get an error message saying, hey bud, you can't do this because of the fact that you're on a SQL Server that's hosting a config-man database. So it won't let you run this on your production environment, which you wouldn't want to, because if it failed, then your database is half upgraded and your site's still not upgraded and you're incompatible. So now you're back in that tap customer scenario. You get the experience, the joy of a site recovery scenario to restore your database and get things back up and working. So that's why they have that hard-coded in there that you can't do that. Okay, my 80K should be, oops, what's going on here? Okay, finally, okay. Nothing was clicking for me. Do I want to exit setup? Yes, I want to exit setup. And my 80K is almost done here. All right, so we can go ahead and kick off our setup process, because it'll be done by the time we get there. So vnext RTM code. From there, just run splash.hta from your code once you're all validated everything. So if your prereq check passes and your test DB upgrade passes, you should have a pretty good upgrade experience. And it minimized for some reason, so we'll go here, we'll click install. Notice that the screen says config manager, and then it tells you version 1511. It doesn't say config man 2016. So we're going to do an install. Let me minimize that so he's out of the way. And, oh, did I? Nah. I guess I told it to, I didn't miss the checkbox clearing it. So that's why it's sitting there, because it's installing a SQL Server Express, which I don't know why, but that's right. I just clicked the wrong checkbox there. So before you begin, because the fact that I'm already on an existing site server, I cannot install a brand new site because I'm on an existing site, but I can go down here and do the upgrade, or if you didn't do your test DB upgrade and you corrupted something, you get to do that option. So I'm going to do the upgrade scenario. And I'll accept my license terms, and I'll accept the supplemental license terms for secondary sites and clients. There's new redistributable files for this, so just make sure that your site server has access to the internet or you pre-downloaded them, which I have done. And it should go through fairly quickly and do that validation of those files. And then there's basically not a whole lot else. It's going to ask you, do you want to add any additional server languages? Do you want to add any additional client languages from what you already had in your previous environment? And it says, hey, you're ready to upgrade. Click next. It does a prereq check for you. If everything passes, you get the begin install button. You click begin install, and away it goes. Now, we're not going to sit here and watch the whole thing do an upgrade because it wouldn't finish in time. So what I'm going to do is get this upgrade started, show you a couple of things that are very, very important for you to know, and then I'll kill these images, swap over to snapshots that have my site already upgraded, and then we'll show you how to verify the upgrade, because there are some gotchas there to be aware of, and then how to get your clients upgraded. So there are a few things there to be aware of before we move on. So I know you guys have done upgrades with service packs and so on before, and this is going to be very, very similar to that, but hopefully with the TestDB upgrade, inbox backlog stuff, you're going to learn a couple of things that you weren't experienced with before, and then some of the gotchas. So I'm not going to add any additional server languages or any additional client languages. Now this is new with the Configuration Manager product now, usage data. By default, Configuration Manager is going to be collecting usage data, telemetry data as it's called, and every week you're going to send that up to Microsoft. There's no way around that other than not having a service connection point in an online mode. But in order to upgrade your environment using that updates and servicing feature I showed you yesterday, you have to send Microsoft this telemetry data. So as you're upgrading to this new product, or you are installing a brand new site, it's going to do a service connection point, and it's going to automatically put you in the middle mode for telemetry data. There's basic, enhanced, and full mode. You can only set basic or enhanced in your install. After the fact, you can go ahead and change it to full mode if you want to, or drop it to one of the other modes. And there's a link here to the documentation that talks about these different telemetry settings. So we'll just go with the default here. It asks me now, you need to have a service connection point, which is what will get you online to upload this telemetry data and then download any new versions for that updates and servicing feature I showed you in the screenshots yesterday. So it's asking you, do you want to create one right now? If so, what computer do you want to have it on? I'll have it installed on my site server. Otherwise, you can say, nah, I'm not sure where I want it yet. Let me go and skip this step. But later on, you have to have a service connection point in order to service your config manager environment. So I'll take the default and then let it run the prereq check. Our prereq check should pass now. It should just have those two SQL Server memory configuration issues. The product group recommends that you have set SQL Server the minimum starting memory location at 8 gigabytes. And my VM only has 6 gigabytes total. So obviously I can't give it 8. And they recommend in the co-located scenario where SQL and the site server is on the same box to not leave SQL at unlimited memory growth, which is what the default SQL is, and that's where I'm set. So that's what these two warnings are sitting here. SQL memory growth is unlimited, and process memory allocation, that's the minimum memory amount. And so I don't have 8 gig minimum, and I've got set to maximum whatever it wants to use. And SQL is a memory hog, so it can starve your environment, so we don't recommend that. Okay, so but those 3 80K issues are all gone. So I click next. I'll let this sit for just a moment. I want to explain a couple of things, and then we'll kill these images and boot up some different ones. So this is, you guys have all seen this screen before. It says let me zoom in for you. It says upgrade up here, obviously. You got the overall progress, and you got the counter over here. Eventually, what's going to happen in my environment, about 18 to 20 minutes in, this overall progress right there, that stops, and that says core setup completed. So it'll go from overall progress to core setup completed. My timer will stop. So the timer will stop at 18 something, and then the next button down at the bottom becomes available. However, if you look at the list of all these tasks here, and right now I only have one, but you have a long list of tasks here and you have to scroll down through, you'll probably find a number of tasks that still have a blue circle on them, which is an indication that task is in progress. So there's still stuff happening, but core setup's completed, the timer stopped, and the next button becomes available. I'm going to tell you, don't click next. Leave the screen running until every single one of those tasks is complete with the green circle and the white check mark. You certainly can close the setup wizard if you want to. I wouldn't. I would leave it till I saw all those tasks go complete. It will actually still update and change those icons from in progress to complete when they are done. It's going to take some number of minutes, maybe an hour, after this says it's done before it really is done. And I'll show you how to verify that momentarily. You can click the View Log button here. However, there is an issue that if you have CM Trace set as your default log file viewer, which means I never hit this bug because I don't use CM Trace, but the rest of the world does. So if you're using Notepad, you don't hit this bug. But if you use CM Trace into your default log file viewer, if you click the View Log button, setup is going to abort eventually because it's going to try and upgrade to CM Trace version and you're running it. So it doesn't try and upgrade Notepad. So just a hint, you might want to use Notepad. I was in an event in Dallas a couple weeks ago, and Kent was there, and he was talking about upgrade, and he had a little screenshot here. He changed his View Log button to the Wally button because he knows I'm the only person that's not going to hit the bug because I'm the only one that uses Notepad. So anyway, so now here you see one that's complete, not started, so that's that blue circle I'm talking about. Until every single one of these tasks, there'll be a couple dozen of them, changes from that blue triple circle into the green, hey, I'm all good, don't close the setup. You can, it will still complete later on, but just don't start your console until you verified everything's good. Okay, so any questions there before I kill this? Because I'm killing these images right now. I'll boot up some other ones. Okay, we're done with these images. So I'll keep talking while this is going on, but I have to go in here and shut down these images. Oh, that's my 2007 environment. Oop, I keep wrong button. I know apply different snapshots here. So I'm gonna go to my site server, and what I did is when I let that upgrade process we're doing right now, I let it complete, and then I snapped those images with the site installed, clients not upgraded. So I'm going to go ahead and apply those snapshots so we can show you how to validate that your upgrade worked successfully, because there's a number of things that you do want to be aware of and to validate. So I'll change my site server and my domain controller. I'll apply those two. And I'll go back to slides here in just a second when I get these images started up. So I'll go ahead and connect to him. Yeah, I know you guys love hearing me talk about what I'm doing here, starting up images and stuff. It's very exciting. And then we'll take our Windows 7 client, and it's in the correct snapshot, but I'll just apply to make sure I didn't have it, just shut it down, which I normally don't, but we'll verify. Okay. All righty. Domain controller is far enough along, so we'll start our site server. Oops, I have a ISO file attached. Let's unattach that. And we will go ahead and start our client. All right, so we'll come back to this guy momentarily, and then we'll show you the stuff. Okay, so my site upgrades. So you did listen to Wally. You left your setup screen running until every single one of those tasks changed to the green circle, white check mark, everything's good. You then click the next and the close button, or maybe you went and viewed your log then and everything was good. Some things, oops, interesting that it swapped. I didn't know it did that in this mode. So we'll go ahead and log in. So now you get to see me talk about how I can log into a site when VMs when they're done booting up. Isn't that exciting? You guys are learning all sorts of valuable information in this session. You're not learning my password though, like Kent showed you his password the other day. So I keep my password secret. And no, it's not S-E-C-R-E-T. I did once have a teaching class, and I used a password of blank, B-L-A-N-K. People asked me what my password was, and I said it's blank. They didn't believe me. And they just kept trying to hit enter with nothing there. And I actually did teach a class one time many, many years ago where the site was installed, or I had everybody use the password of Wally, just so I knew what it was in the class. And I had a customer call me up one time and saying that their admin had left and they needed to do some stuff. And I said, okay, well, you got to log in as admin. How do I do that? So this is going to be a long call. So I told them how to log in as admin, start the process, and ask for a password. And I said, well, you have to supply your admin password now. I don't know what it is. So we're guessing all these type of passwords to use. And finally I said, well, let's try Wally. And Wally worked. Because the guy that set up their site was in my class. When the class I had him use Wally for the password. So when all else fails, try Wally. It might work for you. All right, so start my console, and we're going to view some log files here in a second. All right, so now we should be able to switch back over to, oh, yeah, we're going to do that. That's South Africa sideways. How about that? That button, that's the one we want. Good. All right, so first thing we're going to do is verify our upgrade log. The upgrade log is config manager setup.log. There's a couple of things you want to verify in there. One of those is to verify your site really is done. So if you did close your setup screen prior to everything being done, I'll show you how to verify that. So I'll show you a couple things there. You're going to verify your site system health. So verify after upgrade your site systems are all healthy. Verify your components are still healthy. It's very, very likely that you might get some new warnings in your component status based on your upgrade process. Because you're shutting down services, you're reinstalling components. One component might try and talk to another component that's not there, so you might get warning messages. Verify reports run. So that's a very important thing to do as well. So let's go and look at those. Let's go to that guy. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to verify our log file. So you go to config setup.log, and you see that, oops, I need to load, zoom it. Sorry about that. And I do have it back here. I brought up new images, so I need to relaunch zoom it for you. So now we should be able to zoom in, and then you see that my log ended at 12:15:42, but it's just it wrapped around log file. So that one's no good for us. But remember 12:15. Let's go to the previous log file, config setup log, and of course use Notepad. But for those of you who are weenies and can't handle Notepad, CMTrace still works once it gets upgraded. But the important thing to show you here is right about here. You see that here's a line that says config manager setup, primary site upgrade completed. And look at that time, 11:01. 11:01 is when setup said it was done. But if you scroll on down here, here's 11:55. 11:55, stuff's still happening. Oops, that way. So it was almost an hour after the fact that setup was done before it was still installing components. So that's why I say don't believe that setup screen when it says core setup's completed. You can close it out, leave it running, or at least don't start the admin console till you are done by validating your log file, because you may find stuff that's not really done. In my case, I think it sat there for a long time shutting down some of the services. So the other thing to be aware of is your admin console. So I've seen cases where the admin console does not upgrade. And so you see right here it says the console's installed. It has to be uninstalled first. And I've seen cases where this next line says console could not be uninstalled. And the reason for that is, and I've experienced it, is that the console installs through Windows Installer. But a lot of the site server components install through Windows Installer, like your management point. And you only have one Windows Installer process running at a time. So if your management point happens to be start upgrading, reinstalling, prior to you getting to the point of trying to deinstall the old console, you can only have one thing going. So the MP, MSI, or whatever it happens to be is going to win. So if you can't uninstall your R2 SP1 console, you certainly can't install the vNext console. So you'll find that out right away when you try and launch the console. If it doesn't launch, it's probably because the console didn't work. So verify that in this log file right above, hey, I'm all done. Look and see if it was able to uninstall the console. If not, then what you do is just go to Add Remove Programs, remove your old console through Add Remove Programs. It'll say Configuration Manager Primary Site Console, and it will have the version of 8239 for R2 SP1. And then you just go to your install directory, Program Files, Microsoft Config Manager, and I know you guys don't install in Drive C, you don't install in Program Files. I'm in a VM environment, so I do that. You go to the Tools folder, go to Console Setup, and in here, even though here's your MSI, don't run the MSI. You want to run console setup.exe. So run console setup.exe manually. That will go ahead and check all of the prereq stuff, and then it will call admin console.msi when it's ready for it. So install your console that way, and then bingo, you'll be able to launch your console. Okay, so we're good with that. Log file says we're good. Console starts. Next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and verify. Oh, just to show you that I'm not lying to you. Here's our About Config Manager. And now see that it says System Center Configuration Manager version 15.11. It's not the R2 Service Pack 1 that we had before, and the build number is 8325, not the 8239-1000 we had before. So it is new code. So you go to System Status, Site Status, and all my site systems are okay. Looks to be good. And by the way, an upgrade, all of your additional remote site systems will get upgraded as well. All your DPs, your MEMPs, your software update points, and everything off your box, if you have remote systems, will get upgraded. So then scroll through all your site system components, and again, the same one here, WSUS Sync Manager, because I'm not on the internet. But if I had other components that had errors on, or warnings, and I'm not sure, I'd go look at the messages, seeing if they were valid or not, if they made sense. What I would do to verify is I would take that component, and in this case, let's go ahead and show it's going to be warnings. Probably, nope, errors. Oh yeah, errors, not online. So it's got one error down here, so that's why I have the issue. And what I would do is I'd take that component, I would right-click, reset counts, and I would reset, in this case, I'll just do all, but you can just do reset the errors. What this is going to do is going to go to the database. It's going to reset this component back to nothing. It's going to reset the counter to 0 messages at all. And the status will go back to OK and good, as far as the icons and the status. Then, so everything looks clean, then I'll monitor that going over through time and see if those problems reoccur. You guys are all familiar with Config Manager. You know stuff. If there's really a problem, Config Manager keeps recreating that problem. So if it really is a problem, it is going to come back. So now if I refresh, this guy should be clean by now. And it was WSUS Sync Manager. He's out of order now, so let's go to Component and go alphabetized. And there he is. You can see that he's got an OK status and 0 errors. So now if it really is a problem and not just related to my upgrade process because Component was trying to talk to Component or whatever and they weren't there yet, it will come back. So I'll assume things are all good. The last thing to verify before we move to finish our upgrade is on monitoring, make sure a report runs. I don't care what report runs. Make sure a report runs. But what makes sense for a report to me is, since I'm going to upgrade clients, is going to the site-client information and run the report count of Configuration Manager clients by client version, because I want to verify my clients get upgraded. So I'm going to go ahead and run that report. I've seen a couple of different cases. I had it once. MSIT, I know, had it, but the product group could not reproduce it, where I did this and nothing happened. Nothing appeared. You see down at the bottom, it says rendering report parameters with the green scroll bar. That didn't happen. Nothing ever appeared, just a blank screen. And that's an indication that report viewer did not get executed properly. And they think it was probably a race condition, but again, they could never pin it down. So I don't care if the report comes back with errors. Obviously, that means permission issue or something else, but you just want it to show you something. So in this case, I know that my report viewer got run successfully. If you do get a blank screen, then what you do is go back to that same folder where you had your console that you run, and just run that bottom executable. Just run report viewer. Takes 15, 20 seconds and it's installed, and then go back and run your report and everything's great. So that's something else I've seen as one of those gotchas to be aware of. Yes?
What happens with custom reports when you upgrade?
Okay, question is what happens with custom reports? So custom reports should still be there fine. The one thing to be aware of is that, well, see, I shouldn't have any, but sometimes you do. Go back here, if I just go look at the listing of all reports. Yeah, I do have some here. So sometimes you'll see reports that have a double underscore in front of the name. And I don't know why I have them here, because I shouldn't, because I didn't modify anything, but those would generally be reports that you had modified on your own. So if you've taken any of the built-in reports, made any modifications to them, when you upgrade, the product group upgrades the reports. Well, they don't want to change the modifications you made, so they take your report, they append it or prepend it with a double underscore so it has a different name, then they add in that new report. So anything that you customize is still going to be there, whether the brand new reports you created or any modifications you made. And that's what that double underscore would indicate. But I don't know why I have them, because I didn't modify any reports, and it's just a couple dozen of them. So maybe with the time I was doing my upgrade, it's potentially possible that report manager, SRS, reporting services point was going through security or something on those, and so thought maybe they were didn't get done, so they got modified. So it did that. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so I got a report, and that report in this case shows that I have some clients. I got 3 different versions of clients. I have my R2 RTM clients. I got 3 of those. I got one R2 RTM client, and or R2 SV1 client, and I have one 8325, which is my vNext client. That would be my site server, because my site server is my management point, and my management point also had a client on it. So it has to upgrade the management point automatically, which means you can't have a down-level client on the same box as a up-level management point, because they share what's called common framework. So the CCM version, CCM exec version has to be the same. So it automatically upgraded the management point's client to 1511. And so if I drill in here, it's going to say primary on it as far as the client goes. That's my site server MP. Okay, so let's go finish off these last couple of things. So after you've done your verifications, your site seems to be working properly. Next thing you want to go ahead and do is you want to verify, or you want to go and upgrade all your remote consoles. So this is only going to upgrade the console on your site server. You're going to have a lot of remote consoles for your other admins, for yourself on your own workstations, for your help desk guys. Now, I mentioned the Remote Manage app from Cyrusson yesterday. If you have the Remote Manage app in use, you don't have to have the config man console there, so there'll be less things to upgrade. But for those consoles that you have in place, create a collection of all those computers that have their admin console installed. You can do that from installed programs from hardware inventory. Create a collection of them and just send out a package or an application that has not report viewer, but console setup and admin console.msi. And you can do, I think it's console setup slash, not uninstall, unattend, or maybe /s for silent. And that will do a silent install of your console. So uninstall the old one and then do an upgrade to the new one. So very easy. Upgrading child sites. Since you started the CAS, if you had one, or top-level primary site, upgrade all your child primary sites or secondary sites if you didn't have a CAS. There's no requirement where you have to upgrade in any specific time frame. You can have down-level child sites with an up-level parent site, that's fine. Obviously, you want to get upgraded as soon as possible to take advantage of all the new features. And then upgrade clients. So how do you want to upgrade clients? Oops, gotta click here. So if it was, wrong desktop. If it was me upgrading clients, a couple different ways you would do that. Let me go back to full screen mode. A lot of you guys like using the software distribution method. So you would go to software library, you would go to application management, you go to packages. I would create a new package from definition. So new package from definition and take the client upgrade package. It has binary, so point it, always get files from source directory. Your source directory is / your site server. And then the share is SMS underscore, what's my site code here? MCM, I think. And then it's the client folder. Let's verify them. It may not be that site code. Oops, I don't remember my site code here. CIR, okay. Not MCM. CIR, and then client. So there's your client binaries, the 64-bit and the 32-bit binaries. So select that folder. Let it create that package. Now, you've already got one there. If you see, there's already one built in called the client upgrade package. So you want to take the one you created. It'll be this one. You want to go to properties and give it a different name since they look exactly the same. So I'll say Wally's config man client upgrade. And then there's one program for it. I would take this one program and I would change this command line. See, this command line is pretty long. CCM setup / no service auto SMS site code equals auto. I would never do that. So what I would do is take that command line and I would chop off everything after CCM setup. Oops, keep CCM setup and delete everything else. So I would do that. So take off the no service and take off the SMS site equals auto. whenever you run CCM setup with any command line switches, it'll only use what you have there. If you have CCM setup with no command line switches, it'll always go to Active Directory and read what you've published in Active Directory for your installation of your clients. That way all your clients will install the same way, instead of some people having different command lines and so on. So I would do this without any command line switches. Click OK, then you would just go ahead and take this and you would go ahead and deploy that to your collection of clients that you want to start with, if you want to do that method. Now me, that's not what I would do anymore. What I would do now is go to the administration workspace, go to site configuration, click on my site code. I would go to hierarchy settings. I would go to the new tab up there called client upgrade. So I would go to the client upgrade tab and ignore the bottom half of the screen, because the bottom half of the screen is for pre-production client testing, which I talked about yesterday in my session. But you want the top half of the screen up here. What I would do is I would click the checkbox to upgrade all clients. You get this message saying, hey, do you know what you're doing? It's going to upgrade all your clients in your hierarchy. You say, absolutely, I understand what that means. In other words, you lie, but you do that anyway. And then if you're a control freak and you're worried about when your servers get upgraded as clients, you can click the checkbox, so it will only upgrade your desktops, laptop type stuff, but not your server operating systems as clients. I would do my servers as well. There's no reboots involved here, but some people like to be a little more sure of their server stuff. And then you put in your time frame. What is your deadline on when you want all your clients upgraded? It defaults to 7 days. You can go anywhere from 1 to 31. So you have a month time frame here. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK there. What this is going to do is going to create a policy. So if we go look at our log files, it's going to create a policy, which means the policy PV log file right here, oops, the one below it, is going to update. So I don't even open up the log file. I just watch the date and time stamp, and you're seeing the date and time stamp is updated currently, and the file size is changing a little bit. So there's like 3 or 4 different iterations where it goes through and publishes right stuff here. So when that log file settles down, which it's 1120K and nothing's been happening, my policy's good. So what I would do, it's not been long enough to use that feature to push out to my clients. So I'll just go ahead and go to my domain controller and I'll force him manually to retrieve policies. And so I'm going to go to control panel on my domain controller. I'm going to go to System Config Manager. I'm going to tell it to retrieve policies. Doody-doo. And that works great. And I'll do the same thing on my Windows 7 client. And I'll show you why I'm doing this. Oops, that's not the control panel. See, I was talking while I was trying to click, and that doesn't work very well for me at times. And I'll go force this guy to retrieve policies. All right, so let me load zoom it here real quick so you'll be able to see. And then I'll show you what this process does. This works through scheduled task. And this is going to create a scheduled task on your client to do the upgrade process. So now let's go back to control panel. Let's go to scheduled tasks. And we'll go to task schedule library. We'll go to Microsoft, go to configuration manager. And the task is not there yet. So let me go pull policies again. Hopefully that client, I wonder if it's always possible I got the wrong snapshot there and my client's got a thing where it's not talking to the server. So let's go check and see if it's on the domain controller. And it's always possible I pull that it wasn't done. Yep, here's client upgrade task. Oops, I need to zoom in on here. And so that means that probably either I had the wrong snapshot on my Windows 7 client or I just got policies there too quick, and I'll go check him in just a second. Let me load zoom it so we can see here. So what happens is it sends a policy down to all systems, which will be all your Windows-based clients, not your Macs or Linux and so on. And what that policy is going to do, it's going to tell the client, you automatically run CCM setup from this new version at some random time in the next X number of days. In my case, it was deadline was 7 days. And here we can see that my client randomly chose the 7th. So whatever it is, Monday. So Monday at 8:25 p.m. is when my domain controller is going to run this task automatically. I'm just going to kick it off right now, and we should see CCM setup running. And there we see CCM setup running. So it's kicking off the 8325 upgrade. Let's go back to my client computer here, and he should be there now. If not, I've just got the wrong snapshot loaded, so it's not connected up to the domain. There it is. Okay, client upgrade task. And he randomly chose the 8th. So he chose the 8th for the next time he's going to run. So that's Tuesday, I think it is. So the clients randomly pick that date and time when they're going to do their upgrade. So that helps spread your load out across your network. So you can turn this on for everybody, and clients will randomly pick the time they want to upgrade. They'll do their upgrade, and when they're done upgrading, they're going to go ahead and report in as the new client version. So this guy should have CCM setup running on him as well. Oops, I wasn't logged in as full admin. And there's CCM setup running. So both these guys have CCM setup running, so they're going to go ahead and do their upgrade, and they'll report in as upgraded clients when they're all done. Okay, last thing to talk about here. I mentioned this yesterday, keeping Config Manager up to date. So this is getting you to 15.11, the current branch version. On a periodic basis, about every 3 to 4 months, the product group's going to release a new update. So it will no longer be 15.11. You heard Kent mention 16.01. So that's a technical preview release of things that may come in the next RTM or production release. So if you have a technical preview foresight out, you can do that updates and servicing feature and look at what might be coming in a future release. And it has like the Apple Volume Purchase Program, the server clustering feature, clusterware patching feature, SQL Always On, and a bunch of other stuff in there. So what will happen is on your production environment with an online service connection point, it's going to go and send up your telemetry data, which tells Microsoft what your site code is and so on, and it's going to download a new build. Let's say it's 16.02 being in this month, February, or 16.03 for March. Then your build version is going to change. It'll still be System Center Configuration Manager, but it'll be 16.02, 16.03. That's going to happen automatically if you have an online service connection point. If not, there's an offline method using an offline tool where you can go to a computer with internet access and upload your telemetry data, download any updates, import them over to Config Manager, and then it's just like it happened on its own. In-console monitoring to let you know, and you saw that in the screenshots that I gave you yesterday. So technical previews at the bottom, as I mentioned. If you want to be on the bleeding edge and look at stuff early, then install a brand new lab environment with technical preview so that you can keep up to date with all those pre-release stuff so you can see what those features are. And you can provide feedback back to the product group letting them know, yeah, this isn't really ready for prime time yet. So you need to do some work in this area. So use user voice to provide your feedback on those different areas. But it's a different installation. So you can have your production 15.11 environment. You're going to have a lab 15.11 to mirror production so you can model stuff. And then you're going to have a technical preview site that'll be different in the lab. So you have 3 different Config Manager environments up and running very likely. So why is it not moving? There we go. So just a real quick recap for you. Upgrading is really, really easy. So if you have the capability of doing in-place upgrade, I would do it. I showed you the procedure here, threw in a couple of wrinkles there that you want to be aware of, things that you might try to help alleviate some issues in your environment. So hopefully that was worthwhile for you. But the upgrade process is pretty darn simple. It'll be even simpler going forward, as you saw that updates and servicing thing I showed you yesterday in screenshots. But it'll be easier going forward. Start from the top, work your way down after doing all that prereq stuff, and make sure your site prereq check passes and your TestDB upgrade passes. You should have a clean experience. Then upgrade all your clients however you wish to do so. Auto upgrade works great. Migration from ConfigMan 2007, very, very easy thing to do. Stand up a brand new 15.11 site, which you can do, and then just connect the two together through the migration wizard and bring over the stuff that you care about, and then just upgrade all your clients. And again, you can migrate if you want to from the latest release of ConfigMan 2012, or again, a lab to production environment. And lastly, you saw this slide yesterday about the Geeks Get Care. I know they did their drawing, I believe, already, but if you're still interested in contributing, it's available for you to help out the Syrian refugees and so on, kids. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be around for a little bit longer. And otherwise, you guys have a great last couple of sessions at NIC, and hopefully see you all next year. Thanks, guys.